You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zac Blackerby. Thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. Our guest for this Charlie Tuesday, Auburn message board legend Charlie 5. How are you, my friend?
Doing great, Zach. Ready to knock this out. Let's go.
Let's knock it out. Hey, today's episode is brought to you by Sonos. Sonos is the official sponsor of ESPN College Football. Go to Sonos.com to learn more. Charlie 5, you put out something very interesting today in the Locked On Auburn Discord. And if you're not a part of that, you need to join. I'll put a link in the episode description down below. But you said that there's a good chance that Auburn's next quarterback is not yet in the transfer portal. What did you mean by that?
Okay, first of all, let's be clear. I sent a screenshot of a conversation that there could be that Auburn's quarterback is possibly for next year is possibly not in the portal yet.
Oh yeah, you're right.
So there is a lot of talk. The Keydon Slovis stuff is starting to slow down a little bit. It came out today. I think he may be leaning towards going to Pitt. For Notre Dame, which makes me think he would be the number one target. You would think that's of guys in the portal right now, I would think. So you would think that we would be pretty hard after him, communication, whatnot. And for it to kind of slide, it just kind of makes people start to think that maybe the quarterback is not in the portal yet. And, a little bit of evidence to that is that you look at guys like DJ James and Jason Jones. Those were guys that were not really in the portal yet, and they jump into the portal, and then we're automatically, the leaders to land them. Kids are talking,
right?
Players are talking. Players are recruiting. I think players are becoming some of the biggest recruiters as coaches now. Talking to their buds, talking to their guys. Maybe they went to high schools close to each other, reaching out, things like that. So it could be that one of the reasons we haven't seen a whole lot of movement is that the quarterback of the future is not quite in the portal yet. And there's been some talk about who that could possibly be as well.
What's the talk say?
Sure. So one is obviously, I think the biggest one that everybody would be very ecstatic to see, and he's kind of put out a lot of cryptic things that he could be leaving, is Grayson McCall from Coastal Carolina. He was, I think he leads the ever in a quarterback passing efficiency, I believe, or efficiency rating or QB rating or something like that. He's
and swag.
Yeah, awesome mullet.
Got a lot of swag.
A lot of eye paint. He would be a dream to me. I want to say something, but to me, he'd be basically he'd be like a Bo without the psychotic breakdowns, possibly. So I'm just going to possibly just go ahead and throw that out there. A little bit more even keeled Bo. Same type game though.
That sounds like a really good quarterback then.
Yeah, you would think so. And then there's talk about Brock Vandegrift from Georgia. He's a true freshman this year.
Right.
At Georgia. They're just stacked. And he was a 5-star out of high school. Those two guys could possibly
be part of the D. Davis class, right?
Correct.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I kind of wonder at what point is Harsin like, you know what, I've got my guy. I've got him, or whether it's Finley or Demetrius or, whoever it may be. I think there's going to be a point in the offseason where he's like, you know what, screw it. I've got my dude. These guys chose Auburn, and I'm gonna roll with these dudes. Because Harsin seems like that kind of guy. It's like, I don't care who's on your team. If I got my dudes, I don't care.
Right.
And so, and there's part of this narrative too, right? Where a lot of dudes are going to transfer after spring, which makes sense. You kind of get a feel of the depth chart in spring, and dudes are going to enter the portal. There's going to be a massive wave after that.
I would think that those would be the least desirable.
Especially
I know we got
regarding instant impact.
Yeah. I know we got lucky with like a Tony Fair. I think he hit late. Maybe there was by Darius Knight.
Darius was late. I think Donovan Kaufman was late.
He was really late. But that was also – that's another thing is also late was whenever they didn't vote on the one-time eligibility thing until later in the year.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So you may have had some better prospects go late after spring, but I just think moving forward, all that's going to be done on this first go around, and then you're more guys that maybe don't like where they ended up after the spring practice on the depth chart. That'll be where you see the next wave of guys, and those might be a little bit less desirable. I think the big guys that you're going to want, the big guys you're going after, you're going to have them in. Excuse me, you're going to have them in before January 19th, which I think is the last day for them to be able to be enrolled in classes. So as soon as this dead period's over, there could probably be a couple of really hardcore visit weekends, and that's where you'll see a lot of the ball rolling on the way to finish this class out through the portal.
Yeah, I think the first week of January is going to be a ton of fun.
Oh, yeah.
In regards to that. But, yeah, I mean, even guys like that were early to enter the portal and come to Auburn, like Eku Leota, he wasn't there for spring. And you just think about all of these dudes like Marcus Harris. I mean, all of these really solid pieces on the, last year's team that weren't around for spring practice and, the installation of so many things. And I think a lot of those guys got better as the year went on. And it's like, oh, well, that's why they were just probably now getting comfortable and getting to where they didn't have to think as much and just kind of can react because they finally get comfortable in the system. And so it's things like that where you stop and we start to talk things out. And it's like, okay, maybe Auburn's in a fine spot going into 2022 because Harsin's got his dude set. The offensive line sting is still where I'm like, I can't really talk myself into it.
No.
But other than that, like I feel really good about this roster. I'm not too concerned about quarterback just because I think whether it's Finley or Davis, I don't think that's going to be why Auburn's offense struggles if it does in 2022. So, you disagree?
I think I think there's a couple of different holes.
Season with Finley is the guy. Is that what you're saying?
I really don't. I mean, it's not. The difference is I don't want to take a quarterback just to take a quarterback, but that would be very scary to go into the year with what little we've seen has not been great. And then you got what happened at LSU. I'm pulling for TJ. I'm just not sure that's going to be if your goal is to turn this thing around and win right now. Then there's no way you can go into next year without having a proven quarterback and possibly even a go get a up and coming star from like a smaller conference like a Grayson McCall or somebody like that. I can't fathom that Bryan Harsin would go into 2022 with no added offensive lineman and no added quarterback. That would be really hard for me to believe that. If that happens, that means we probably missed out on quite a bit of people. We couldn't close the deal.
Yeah. Now he will have two guys on campus at quarterback.
Yeah.
That he chose. He chose TJ Finley.
He chose TJ. He didn't choose.
Well, and Garner will be there.
Okay, I got you. Yes. You're right.
So he will have more than half of the quarterback room will be guys he have chosen, and then D Davis, who Harsin loves loyalty, and so I think he's in the mix. I think he respects that, and based on how he talked about Davis at the Birmingham Bowl presser, it sounds like Davis is getting reps, which is good.
Sure.
So I would. Once again, it's like if it's one of those three dudes, like I can talk myself into it. I don't think that's going to be like what holds Auburn back in 2022. But maybe I'm being silly. I don't know. Because
I get what you're saying, though.
Harsin believes in Finley, or he wouldn't have gone out to get him.
Well, you had to have Finley really you had to have Finley just really for the depth chart purposes. I mean, Finley.
Harsin had to tell Finley. Like, I don't think Harsin's a liar, right?
No, I mean, I don't think, and I don't think that I don't think that he didn't believe in Finley when he tried to get him, but after you see what he can do, I just don't think we'd be even targeting quarterbacks, period, or talking about targeting quarterbacks in the portal, period, if he wasn't fully confident in it.
So you and I have a very good relationship.
Yes.
Tell me if I'm being an idiot here.
Okay.
But I think the whole process of Finley being thrust in the starting role after Bo Nix being hurt at Mississippi or against Mississippi State and all that for the final 2 games of the season, I said it as it happened. Finley is being set up to fail.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the fact that he is being asked to do what a starting quarterback needs to do when there's 2 weeks left in the season, when he has not been getting reps, like that is an issue. Like he maybe got reps the week of LSU just because of the whole QB controversy and Bo Nix getting benched and all that. But I think if you give him a full offseason, I bet he's okay. I bet he's fine. I don't think he's going to be great, but I think he'll be serviceable.
Do you want serviceable or do you want to win?
I don't think it's going to matter unless you fix the offensive line.
Okay, so that's the crux of your argument. That's the bigger part of your issue is that if you don't, and I'm with you, if you can't fix the offensive line, just roll with what you got and develop what you.
If you're Slovis, and I don't know the situation at Pitt, and I don't know the situation at Notre Dame,
right?
But their offensive line situation has to be better. It has to be, right? And so, like, I believe that. I believe that Auburn's reaching out to these dudes, and it's not working because they can see the offensive line is going to be a massive question mark until that gets shored up. I almost don't think it matters.
I totally get that point of view. I just don't think that the way we watched a couple of those, like I said, a couple of those guys going to the portal. I want to just feel, and maybe it's just me booging in my heart that I think there's a plan out there that we just don't know yet. But I just cannot fathom after the season you just had not to absolutely sell out. Either you've already picked them out or you know they're going to go into the portal, guys, offensive linemen that can make an impact immediately, and then couple that in with a quarterback that you think can make an impact. There's just no way Bryan Harsin goes into next year with Brendan Coffey and Killian Zaire as your only Colby whatever the Smith, I think, is the freshman. And then that's it. There's just no way that happens. I just cannot fathom that's the case. If that happens, we may have bigger issues.
Yeah, maybe so. Hey, this is it. The putt to win the tournament. If you sink it, the championship is yours. But on your backswing, your hat falls over your eyes. Is this how you're running your business? Poor visibility because you're still relying on spreadsheets and outdated finance software? To see the full picture, you need to upgrade to NetSuite by Oracle. NetSuite is the #1 cloud financial system to power your growth of your business. 93% of surveyed businesses increase their visibility and control after upgrading to NetSuite. Be sure to check it out at netsuite.com/lockedon. netsuite.com/locked, excuse me. Check that out at netsuite.com/locked. Charlie 5, our guest on this Charlie Tuesday. So NIL Auburn had a Zoom call for folks interested. They put out the links on some of the message boards, and so I wasn't able to attend. I had a Locked On meeting at that time. But what was your takeaways? You attended, right?
Yeah, I did. Right off the bat, I left my mic on, so they muted me real quick, which was embarrassing. But other than that, a lot of the same stuff that we talked about. I think to start out, when they launched this thing to the public on January 1st, I think $250 a month is going to be where you start, like the lowest you can go. And then $250. Yeah, it's going to be pretty steep. But
I need to set this up better. If you missed Charlie 5 and I's conversation, I think 2 weeks ago, NIL Auburn is what has been set in place for fans to help make sure student athletes are taken care of. And so you can sign up for a subscription, and what you pay to NIL Auburn, you will receive some type of access from regards to content as well as autographs and maybe a few other things depending on what all you pay for. But that is the exchange of goods and services. And then the student athletes will than be able to be compensated through NIL Auburn. So that's
Exactly.
the gist of it. Charlie 5, continue on.
Sure. So yeah, I think $250 is what they're going to start with. And then as they go, I think they'll drop to have some lower values to sort of kind of gauge where they are and what they need to be, where they need to be.
Sure.
I think the biggest things that they answered a lot of questions, which I thought was really cool. They had a lot of fans that were very interested, had a lot of good questions. They talked about market values of athletes and how they're going to decide who gets what, when gets, and all that good stuff. One thing that I was hoping would be ready to begin with, but it's not, and it's going to come, is that when you do your subscription, you can select, basically throw it all in a big pot for all the teams, or you can select which team specifically you want your subscription to go to. The only thing they had talked about it actually going to a position group, so you could
offensive tackle,
offensive tackle, whatever.
Yes.
That's not going to be available right to start with. That's going to be available down the road. He did say there's only one other school. He didn't say which one. There's only one other school with a fan-based program like this. So it's going to be cutting edge. We're actually going to be leading in something, believe it or not. And it's a way that we can reward student athletes for coming to Auburn, and hopefully, if everyone gets on board, we can use it to get better athletes and win championships. Be a more enticing offer to come to Auburn because you have Auburn NIL right here that you could be a part of. So
yeah, it's going to be a major net positive. It's going to be a big part of recruiting. 250 is high. I don't think the average fan's going to be able to do that, but we'll see. We'll see what happens there. I mean, that's a pretty decent car payment with today's stuff, but we'll see what happens with that. Did he say what they would get for the $250 a month?
It was like autographs, memorabilia, pictures, videos. Could be even like phone calls. Just different things. Basically, like the athlete's going to come in and they're going to have like XYZ that they have to check off, like for the goods and service exchange. So in other words, like you got to come in, you got to sign 100 autographs, you got to do whatever, and then they're going to disperse it to the subscription customers. So
cool.
It's going to be pretty cool. It's going to be. I really do think the lower options will open up rather quickly after this. Basically soft, I guess harder than soft launch that they're going to have, because they're going to actually harder than soft. Yeah, a little bit harder than soft launch that they're going to do with the $250 subscription. Semi-soft or semi-hard.
Stop it. All right, that's Charlie 5. It's a Charlie Tuesday here. Today's show is brought to you by Prize Picks. I've been telling you about Prize Picks all season. If you haven't signed up, what are you waiting for? In addition to the college football action, Prize Picks makes college basketball more exciting. Prize Picks is the leader in daily college fantasy sports. They offer any prop you can think of. In basketball, you can play points, rebounds, assists, threes made, and more. And anyone who makes a deposit and uses the promo code, which is Locked On, will receive 100% instant deposit match up to $100. Be sure to use that promo code Locked On. Don't hesitate. Check out prizepicks.com today. Use promo code Locked On, or go to your app store and download the app today. Prize Picks is daily fantasy made easy. Final few minutes on today's edition of Locked On Auburn with our own Charlie 5. I meant to talk about this yesterday with Lindsay, but we ran out of time. I want to talk about folks that have left Auburn via the transfer portal this offseason, whose impact hurts the most. I wrote about it at auburnwire.com. I'm just going to kind of go through my list. You tell me what I got right and what I got wrong, if you don't mind.
Sure.
So it's seven. There's 7 guys. The one that has the least amount of impact with his departure, I said, was Tayshawn Manning. Thoughts?
Okay. I don't think it's going to be a huge impact. I would have put another guy on your list a little bit lower, but just because anybody for offensive linemen right now losing is at least some sort of a deal. But yeah, I'm with you. He's okay right there. I probably would have put the guy at 6 at 7.
Okay, Caleb Johnson is who I had at 6, and that totally makes sense. Yeah, you could see a path of like Tayshawn Manning playing.
Yeah,
I don't think you can do that with Caleb. So
especially after this signing class, and then different guys that are getting healthy and, guys that got back towards the end of the year. I just don't see a path for him. He wasn't really an edge anyway. He was really more of he was listed as an edge, but he was not really an edge.
He doesn't look like an edge physically.
No.
At 5, I had Amari Harvey, the true freshman safety, did not record a stat or play in 2020, which I'm not going to lie, that seems a little off to me. I feel like you got to find a way to put a former 4-star safety on the field in garbage time or in special teams or something. But
yeah,
he did not play. And so I think with Auburn's strong signing day, he saw Auburn get more and more
writing on the wall.
Backs, and he's like, okay, I don't think there's a clear path to playing time for me here.
Yeah, that one's kind of tough because, believe it or not, I think he was the highest ranked. I think he was the highest ranked player in last year's class, and he couldn't find the field for whatever reason. I don't think Harsin's just not playing guys that he doesn't think give him the best chance to win. But I'm kind of like you. You just kind of want to do a little bit more, maybe not to lose your top ranked player from the last class, but at the same time, with all the dudes they brought in, maybe they just felt like they brought in better players. I don't know.
Yeah, clearly it's not hurting you because
he felt like they were better players. So
right, that's right. At number 4, I had Elijah Canyon. Similar situation, just didn't get on the field. Whether it was him learning the playbook is one of the things that I heard. Other things were attitude. I don't know the story there, but regardless, he did not see the field as much as a lot of people wanted him to. And Canyon went his way out.
Yeah, it's tough. He was an intriguing athlete that, we seem like we have a couple of those every year. Guys that are sort of camp legends.
Right for you?
Was that 4 is good for me? Yeah, that's a good one.
3, I've got Sean Shivers there. Largely due to off the field stuff, just because he's a big locker room guy. But obviously, there's a chance that Auburn has. I think Auburn's going to have 3 running backs that are relevant in 2022. And Austin Davis's new offense, I think Damari Austin's going to have a pretty fun role as a true freshman. So
yeah. And if Tank would have gone, this could have been number 1. So, but yeah, I think 3 is a fair spot for that one.
At 2, as far as impact, Ladarius Dennison, the defensive back. I thought Ladarius had a chance to be a starter in 2020. Yeah. I think in spring, when the ones go out there for the first time, I think he would have been one of the safeties. And maybe he was told not to. Maybe he was told that he would not be a starter moving forward. I don't know. But that one surprised me the most.
Yeah, I think so too. And I don't know if that's a Kaufman deal, maybe. He just didn't feel like I don't know. He definitely would have played. He played this year. I mean, he played some this year. He definitely would have played, but he probably can start immediately at Ole Miss. Because
who are the starting safeties now? I guess it's
at Auburn or at Ole Miss.
At Auburn. I would not put that on you for Ole Miss.
No, I mean you got Kaufman, you got Gilbert coming in, more than number 1 JUCO safety.
Yeah.
You got a couple of different guys that can slide it. Zion, there's been actually even talk about Smoke coming back. I'm not sure if that's been squashed 100% yet. But yeah. And
do we want that? Do we want Smoke back?
Don't make me say. Personally, I don't want him back.
All right.
I would rather him not come back. But
number 1, Bo Nix. Obviously, when you lose a 3-year starter, I think long term it's good, but I think for 2022 it's bad. So there you go.
Long term. How do you think long term that's good? I just want to pick your brain for a second.
Because I think we get a year into the Harsin reset. I think we get there a year earlier.
Okay, that's fair. So a little bit of carryover.
The biggest reason I didn't want Bo to leave is because once again, I'm going back to I'm really concerned about the offensive line here.
Yeah.
But Bo is better with a bad offensive line, I think, than any of the quarterbacks on this roster, just because he's done it for 3 seasons now. So
dodge bullets for 3 years.
Right. If you do anything for 3 years, you're going to get better at it. So I think that's a big part of it. And it's I don't want Auburn to go 6-6 again, and the fan base want Bryan Harsin to get fired.
Right. No, I'm with you.
I think Bo was the best option for that not to happen. And you can look at the schedule, and it's man, you got a lot of home games. You got 8 home games. I think Penn State at home is winnable.
5 in a row right off the bat.
Right. And so it's like, if you win 5 of those, it's like, okay, you're almost better than 6-6 already. So, if you can figure out how to do that, I think it's great. But I don't know. There's just a few weaknesses on this roster that, they're going to fill it up. They're going to add like 10 dudes. So
you're right, though. I do think Bo would be, although he's probably not the best option to win a championship, he may have been the best option next year to win
8-4 or something,
8 or 9 games. And so that just because of that, you have to put him at number 1.
Right.
It's so weird how the number 1, it's so weird how a 3-year starter leaves and we're just like, okay with it.
And Oregon's mad about it.
And Oregon's kind of mad about it. That's just, it's so, college football is just,
I love it.
Drunk right now, and I love it.
I love it so much.
It's wild. It's wild. There's one thing about Bo though. I want to kind of,
yes.
There's this narrative about Bo. I've seen it on Twitter. Now he can go mess up Oregon's locker room. They're just different things. It's like that Bo was a bad teammate. And
right, yeah.
I remember I can point to several guys tweet, that unsolicited. Derek Hall's one of them. I think Colby Wooten was another one. Tweeting Bo's my quarterback several times, like after the LSU game and after. I just don't know that I buy.
Chandler Wooten came on here, and that dude was getting me ready to run through a brick wall for Bo.
Yeah,
saying,
exactly.
He's my quarterback kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't buy that Bo was a bad teammate. It just, I think that probably needs to stop. But other than that, I'm fine. I'm okay with it. I'm like, even though next year is obviously a question mark now, I'm like you kind of get to turn the page and move on from the previous regime and just kind of
like, is losing an extra game or 2 in 2022 worth it to figure out if Bryan Harsin's the guy a year earlier? It's like, it probably is.
Yeah.
I may get some pushback for that, every game matters kind of thing. But yeah. I just think it's important to have perspective when we talk about 2022. I just think it's a very important thing, because I think the way Auburn is positioned in the SEC West, I think in order for Auburn to win it and to go to the college football playoff, it has to be when you play Bama and Georgia at home. I just think that's how it is, because you have to win one of those.
Yeah. And that's fair. That's fair.
22, like, it's great you have 8 home games, but like, you may not win on the road in 2022. That just
you got to go to both Mississippi schools, and then you got to play Alabama and Georgia on the road.
Right.
That's
the
tough.
biggest thing is, like, can you win in Starkville? That's the big thing. So we'll see. We'll see what's going on there. It is tough. It is tough. You know what else is tough?
Hit it.
Whenever the pod ends and it's just, I can't talk to you anymore. That's what's tough.
I got to wait a whole week to talk to you again.
I know.
This stinks.
I know. Quickly, what should an Auburn fan want for Christmas right now? Go.
Wins. Oh, bowl game win. How about that?
Okay, a bowl game win. That sounds good, man. Hey, where can people find you, hear you, support you, all that good stuff?
Find me on Twitter at @the_Charlie_5, auburnlive.com message board, The Corner, Auburn 247 Sports Body Get a Board, or Monday through Friday on the Dad Bod Golf Pod.
That's Charlie 5 joining us. Follow me on Twitter at Zac Blackerby, the show on Twitter at Locked On Auburn, and on Instagram at Auburn Podcast. We'll be back tomorrow right here on Locked On Auburn.